Marcus Thompson adjusted his tie nervously as he walked through the gleaming lobby of Sterling Industries. The marble floors reflected the afternoon sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, and everything about the place screamed success and power. He clutched his portfolio tighter, knowing this meeting could change everything for his small marketing firm. His phone buzzed with a text from his babysitter. "Emma's asking when Daddy will be home." "Should I start dinner?" Marcus smiled despite his nerves. His 8-year-old daughter was the light of his life, even though raising her alone hadn't been part of his original plan. When Sarah left 2 years ago, claiming she couldn't handle the pressure of Marcus's struggling business and their mounting bills, Emma had asked innocent questions that broke his heart. "Why doesn't Mommy want to live with us anymore, Daddy?" The elevator ride to the 40th floor felt endless. Marcus had spent weeks preparing for this presentation, working late into the night after Emma went to bed, surviving on coffee and determination. His small agency desperately needed this contract with Sterling Industries. Without it, he'd have to close shop and find a corporate job, which meant less time with Emma and giving up on his dreams of building something meaningful. The receptionist, a polished woman in her 30s, barely looked up from her computer. "Mr. Thompson? Mr. Sterling will see you in conference room A down the hall. Last door on your right." Her tone was crisp and professional, the kind that made Marcus acutely aware of his off-the-rack suit and scuffed shoes. As he walked down the hallway lined with awards and photos of company achievements, Marcus passed by what looked like a break room. Through the glass wall he noticed a young girl, probably around Emma's age, sitting alone at a small table. She was in a wheelchair, wearing a beautiful blue dress and appeared to be coloring in a book. Her long brown hair was perfectly styled, and despite her expensive clothes, there was something deeply lonely about the way she sat there, occasionally glancing toward the hallway as if hoping someone might notice her. The sight tugged at Marcus's heart. He thought of Emma, who was probably at their small apartment right now chattering away to Mrs. Rodriguez, their elderly babysitter, about her day at school. Emma never sat anywhere quietly for long. She was always moving, always talking, always full of life and energy. This girl looked like she was waiting for something or someone who might never come. Conference room A was intimidating, with its long mahogany table and leather chairs that probably cost more than Marcus's monthly rent. At the head of the table sat Richard Sterling, a man in his early 50s with silver hair and an expensive suit. His reputation preceded him: brilliant businessman, demanding boss, and notoriously difficult to please. Sterling Industries had grown from a small tech company to a multinational corporation under his leadership, and everyone knew he didn't suffer fools gladly. "Mr. Thompson," Sterling said without looking up from the documents spread before him, "I've reviewed your proposal. You have 15 minutes to convince me why I should choose your agency over the 3 others I'm considering, all of which have significantly more experience and resources than you do." Marcus felt his mouth go dry, but he thought of Emma and found his voice. "Mr. Sterling, you're absolutely right. I can't offer you the biggest team or the fanciest office. What I can offer you is something those big agencies can't: personal attention, creative solutions, and a hunger to prove myself that will benefit your company immensely." For the next 12 minutes, Marcus presented his ideas with a passion that surprised even himself. He talked about innovative marketing strategies, cost-effective social media campaigns, and ways to connect with younger consumers. Sterling listened without interruption, occasionally making notes, his expression unreadable. When Marcus finished, Sterling was quiet for a long moment. "Your ideas are interesting, Mr. Thompson. Unconventional but interesting. However, I need to know that any agency I work with can handle the pressure and demands of a company like ours. This isn't a small-town operation. I understand completely, sir. I've been running my agency for 5 years, and while we're small, we've never missed a deadline or failed to deliver results for our clients. I stake my reputation on that." Sterling stood up, walking to the window that overlooked the city. "Tell me about yourself, Thompson. What drives you? What do you have to lose if this doesn't work out?" The question caught Marcus off guard, but he decided on honesty. "I'm a single father, Mr. Sterling. My daughter Emma is 8 years old, and she's counting on me to make this work. Not just financially, but because I want to show her that dreams are worth fighting for, that you don't give up when things get tough." Something flickered across Sterling's face so briefly that Marcus almost missed it. A daughter, Sterling repeated quietly. How old did you say? 8, sir. She's everything to me. Sterling turned back to the window and Marcus noticed his shoulders tense slightly. There was a long silence that stretched uncomfortably, making Marcus wonder if he'd said something wrong. Maybe talking about his personal life had been unprofessional. Finally, Sterling returned to his seat. I'll be honest with you, Thompson. Your presentation was good but not extraordinary. Your agency is small, unproven at this level. By all logical measures, I should go with one of the established firms. Marcus's heart sank, but Sterling held up a hand. However, there's something to be said for hunger and determination. And frankly, your approach reminds me of myself 20 years ago. Sterling gathered his papers. I'm going to think about this over the weekend. You'll have my decision Monday morning. As Marcus packed up his materials, he felt a mixture of hope and anxiety. He'd done his best, but would it be enough? The thought of going home to Emma empty-handed made his stomach churn. Walking back down the hallway, he glanced again into the break room. The young girl was still there, still alone. But now she had put down her coloring book and was staring out the window with a wistful expression that reminded him painfully of Emma during her mother's final weeks at home, when she'd sensed something was wrong but couldn't understand what. Marcus paused, his hand on the elevator button. Something about that lonely little girl bothered him deeply, stirring up all his protective instincts as a father. The elevator doors opened, but Marcus didn't step inside. Instead, he found himself walking back toward the break room, drawn by an impulse he couldn't quite explain. Through the glass wall, the little girl looked up as he approached, her eyes wide and curious. Marcus knocked gently on the doorframe. Hi there, he said softly. I'm Marcus. I was just having a meeting with someone, and I noticed you sitting here. Are you waiting for someone? The girl's face lit up with a smile that transformed her entire appearance. I'm Sophia, she said, her voice bright and articulate. I'm waiting for Daddy to finish his meetings. He said he'd only be a few minutes, but that was... She glanced at the expensive watch on her small wrist. 2 hours ago. Marcus felt his heart clench. He recognized that feeling, the disappointment of a child whose parents' work always seemed more important than spending time together. He'd seen it in Emma's eyes during those final months before Sarah left, when he'd been working desperately to save their marriage and his business, often missing dinner and bedtime stories. 2 hours is a long time to wait, Marcus said, stepping into the room. What are you coloring? Sophia's eyes brightened even more. Butterflies! Do you want to see? She held up her coloring book, revealing incredibly detailed drawings filled with vibrant colors. I love butterflies because they can fly anywhere they want. They're so free. The wistfulness in her voice when she said free made Marcus's chest tight. He pulled out a chair and sat down beside her, something he would have done naturally with Emma. These are beautiful, Sophia. You're a really talented artist. Thank you, she said, beaming. Most adults don't really look at my pictures. They just say, that's nice, dear, and keep walking. Marcus studied the drawings more carefully. They weren't just random scribbles. There was real skill here, careful attention to shading and detail that was impressive for someone her age. Well, they're wrong not to really look. This one here with the purple and gold wings, it looks like it could fly right off the page. Sophia giggled, a sound that reminded him so much of Emma that he felt a pang of homesickness. Daddy bought me this book last month, but he never has time to see what I've colored. He's always in meetings or on phone calls. What about your mom? Marcus asked gently. Does she look at your pictures? Sophia's expression dimmed slightly. Mommy lives in France now with her new husband. She sends me presents sometimes, but she's very busy with her new life. The matter-of-fact way she said it broke Marcus's heart. This little girl was dealing with abandonment just like Emma had, but with even more isolation. I have a daughter about your age, Marcus said. Her name is Emma, and she loves to draw too. She'd probably love to see your butterflies, really? Sophia's face lit up again. What does she like to draw? Dragons mostly, and princesses riding dragons. She's convinced that princesses shouldn't need rescuing. They should do the rescuing themselves. Sophia laughed, clapping her hands together. I like that. Smart princesses are the best kind. Then her expression grew thoughtful. Does Emma live with you all the time? Yes, she does. It's just the two of us now. Just like me and Daddy, Sophia said quietly. Except Daddy's always working. Mrs. Chen, my nurse, takes care of me most of the time. She's nice, but she's not Daddy. Marcus noticed she'd mentioned a nurse, and looking more closely, he could see that Sophia's legs were positioned in a way that suggested she couldn't move them. The wheelchair wasn't just a temporary thing. This was her permanent reality. Yet her spirit seemed so bright, so full of life, despite her circumstances. "You know what?" Marcus said, pulling out his phone. "Emma just got home from school. Would you like to see a picture of her?" Sophia nodded eagerly, and Marcus scrolled through his photos until he found one of Emma from last week, grinning widely while holding up a crayon drawing of a purple dragon with a crown. "She's pretty," Sophia said softly. "She looks happy. She is happy most of the time. But she gets lonely sometimes, too. She doesn't have many friends at our apartment complex. Most of the other kids are either much older or much younger." "I don't have many friends either," Sophia admitted. "I go to a special school, but it's far away, and the other kids there, well, some of them can't talk or play the same way I can, and the kids in our neighborhood don't really know what to do with me." She gestured toward her wheelchair matter-of-factly. Marcus felt a surge of anger at the unfairness of it all. Here was this bright, articulate, creative little girl who was isolated simply because adults didn't know how to include her, and other children followed their parents' lead. "That's their loss," Marcus said firmly. "Anyone would be lucky to have you as a friend." Sophia beamed at him. "Do you really think Emma would like my butterflies?" "I know she would. In fact," Marcus paused, struck by a sudden idea. "Would you like to meet her sometime? Maybe you two could color together." The hope that flooded Sophia's face was almost overwhelming. "Really? You would let me meet her?" "Of course. Emma loves meeting new people, especially other artists." "Daddy doesn't usually let me have friends over," Sophia said, her excitement dampening slightly. "He worries about me getting hurt or about other people not knowing how to help me if I need something." Marcus understood the protective instinct. He felt it with Emma, too. But he also recognized the suffocating effect of overprotection. "Well, maybe we could start small. Maybe your dad and I could talk about it." "You would talk to Daddy about me having a friend?" Sophia's voice was filled with wonder, as if the idea of an adult advocating for her social life was completely foreign. "Absolutely. Every kid deserves to have friends." At that moment, Marcus heard footsteps in the hallway. Sophia's expression immediately changed, becoming more subdued, as if she was putting on a mask of quiet compliance. Richard Sterling appeared in the doorway, his face showing surprise and what might have been irritation at finding a stranger with his daughter. "Sophia, what have I told you about talking to people you don't know?" Sterling's voice was sharp with concern and authority. "It's okay, Daddy. This is Marcus. He has a daughter my age who draws dragons, and he thinks my butterflies are really good." Sterling's eyes narrowed as he looked at Marcus. "Mr. Thompson, I wasn't expecting to find you still here." Marcus stood up, feeling suddenly awkward. "I was just leaving, and I noticed Sophia sitting here alone. As a father myself, I couldn't just walk by." Something flickered in Sterling's expression, surprise, perhaps, or something else Marcus couldn't identify. "Daddy, Marcus says his daughter Emma would like to meet me and see my coloring. Can she come over sometime, please?" The hope in Sophia's voice was unmistakable, but Sterling's face had closed off. "We'll discuss it later, sweetheart. Mr. Thompson was just leaving." The dismissal was clear, but as Marcus gathered himself to go, he caught Sterling's eye. "Mr. Sterling, I meant what I said. My daughter would love to play with Sophia. Sometimes kids need other kids, you know." Sterling's jaw tightened at Marcus's words. "Thank you for your concern, Mr. Thompson. But Sophia's social needs are adequately managed." Marcus saw the hurt flash across Sophia's face before she quickly looked down at her coloring book. The little girl had clearly heard this kind of dismissal before, and it made Marcus's protective instincts flare even stronger. "Of course, sir," Marcus said carefully. "I just thought, as parents, we sometimes need to take chances to give our kids the best opportunities." The words hung in the air between them, and Marcus realized he might have overstepped. But looking at Sophia's dejected posture, he couldn't bring himself to regret it. Sterling's expression was unreadable. "Sophia, gather your things. We're leaving." "Yes, Daddy." Sophia's voice was small now, all the brightness from moments before completely extinguished. She began carefully placing her crayons back in their box, each movement precise and resigned. As Marcus watched this interaction, he felt a growing understanding of what was happening here. Sterling wasn't cruel or uncaring, he was terrified. The way he looked at his daughter, the controlled environment, the isolation. It all spoke of a parent trying to protect a child from a world that had already hurt her enough. Marcus knew that fear. He'd felt it every day since Sarah left, watching Emma sleep and wondering how he could possibly protect her from all the disappointments and cruelties life might bring. But he'd also learned that wrapping Emma in bubble wrap wasn't protection. It was prison. "Sophia," Marcus said gently, "it was really nice meeting you. Your butterfly pictures are going to stay in my mind for a long time." She looked up at him with eyes that seemed far too mature for her age. "Thank you for really looking at them, Marcus. And for telling me about Emma. Maybe I'll see you again sometime." "Maybe," she said, but her tone suggested she didn't believe it would happen. Sterling had been watching this exchange with growing tension. As Sophia finished packing her art supplies, he moved behind her wheelchair. "Mr. Thompson," Sterling said, his voice carefully controlled, "walk with me." Marcus followed as Sterling pushed Sophia's wheelchair toward the elevators. The hallway seemed longer now, filled with an awkward silence that Sophia seemed accustomed to, but that made Marcus deeply uncomfortable. In the elevator, Sophia tried to fill the quiet. "Daddy, did you know that Marcus owns his own business? And his daughter Emma draws dragon princesses who rescue themselves?" "That's nice, sweetheart," Sterling replied, but his attention was clearly elsewhere. Marcus found himself studying Sterling more carefully. The man's suit was impeccable, his posture perfect, but there were lines around his eyes that spoke of sleepless nights and worries that went far beyond business concerns. His hands on the wheelchair handles were gentle, protective, but Marcus could see the tension in his shoulders. When they reached the ground floor, Sterling paused. "Sophia, wait here with Marcus for just a moment. I need to speak with security about something." It was clearly an excuse to get a moment alone with Marcus, and Sophia seemed to understand this too. "Okay, Daddy." Sterling walked a few steps away, then turned back to Marcus with an expression that was part warning, part plea. "Mr. Thompson, I appreciate your kindness to my daughter, but you need to understand something. Sophia's situation is complicated. She's been through more than any child should have to endure, and I won't have her disappointed or hurt by well-meaning strangers who make promises they can't keep." Marcus felt the weight of Sterling's words, but also heard what wasn't being said. "Mr. Sterling, I would never make a promise to a child that I couldn't keep. My daughter Emma has been through enough disappointment for one lifetime." "Has she?" Sterling's voice carried a challenge. "Has she really? Because from where I'm standing, Mr. Thompson, your daughter sounds like she has a father who's present, who talks to her, who makes time for her interests. Some children aren't that fortunate." The admission was so unexpected that Marcus felt his understanding of the situation shift completely. This wasn't just about protecting Sophia from the world. This was about a father who knew he was failing his daughter, but didn't know how to do better. "Mr. Sterling," Marcus said quietly, "may I ask what happened to Sophia? I don't mean to pry, but..." Sterling's face went through several emotions before settling on a kind of tired resignation. "Car accident. 3 years ago. Sophia's mother was driving." His voice became barely audible. "I was supposed to pick Sophia up from school that day, but I had a board meeting that ran late. So Caroline went instead." The guilt in Sterling's voice was overwhelming. Marcus understood now why the man worked such long hours, why he kept Sophia close but couldn't seem to connect with her. He was drowning in self-blame. The doctor said Sophia might never walk again, might never be able to live independently. Caroline couldn't handle it. She said she married a successful businessman, not a man whose life revolved around hospital visits and physical therapy appointments. Sterling's laugh was bitter. She was right, of course. I didn't know how to be what Sophia needed. Marcus looked over at Sophia, who was examining the lobby's marble floors with intense concentration, clearly trying to give the adults privacy while staying within earshot. "Mr. Sterling, with respect, I think you're wrong about what Sophia needs." Sterling's head snapped up, his eyes flashing with anger. "Excuse me? She doesn't need a perfect father who never makes mistakes. She needs a father who sees her, who engages with her interests, who lets her be a kid instead of a problem to be managed." "You think I don't see her?" Sterling's voice was dangerously low. "I think you see her disabilities and your guilt more than you see her," Marcus said gently. "That little girl in there is brilliant, creative, funny, and desperately lonely. She lit up like a Christmas tree just because someone looked at her artwork and asked her about her interests." Sterling was quiet for a long moment, his eyes fixed on his daughter. "You think it's that simple?" I think it's that hard, Marcus corrected. The simple things are often the hardest ones to do. Trust me, I know. After Emma's mother left, I spent months walking around her, treating her like she might break if I said the wrong thing. It wasn't until I started treating her like Emma again instead of like a victim that she started to heal. And if I let her get attached to your daughter and then something goes wrong, if Emma decides she doesn't want to be friends with a girl in a wheelchair, if other parents don't want their children exposed to disability, the pain in Sterling's voice made Marcus's chest tight. Then we deal with it together as parents. But Mr. Sterling, what if it goes right? What if these two little girls become friends? What if Sophia gets to experience what every other 8-year-old deserves on a friendship? Sterling looked at Sophia again, and Marcus could see the internal war playing out on his face. Daddy? Sophia called softly. Is everything okay? Everything's fine, sweetheart, Sterling called back, but his voice was strained. Marcus took a deep breath. Mr. Sterling, let me make you a deal. Forget about the business contract for a moment. Let Emma and Sophia meet, one afternoon, in a controlled environment where you feel safe. If it doesn't work out, if either girl gets hurt or uncomfortable, we'll end it there. But if it does work out, he paused, well, maybe we'll both learn something about what our daughters really need. Sterling stared at Marcus for what felt like an eternity. Around them, the lobby bustled with the end-of-day corporate rush. Employees heading home, security guards making their rounds, the quiet efficiency of a business world that Sterling dominated, but that suddenly felt very far away from the conversation they were having. You're asking me to trust a stranger with my daughter's emotional well-being, Sterling said finally. I'm asking you to trust another father who wants the same thing you do, to see his daughter happy, Marcus replied. And I'm asking you to trust Sophia to know what she needs. Sterling's eyes moved to his daughter, who had pulled out her coloring book again and was adding details to one of her butterflies. Even from a distance, Marcus could see the care she put into each stroke of the crayon, the way she tilted her head to consider her work. She asks about having friends over at least once a week, Sterling admitted quietly. I always tell her maybe later when she's older, when things are more settled. But things are never going to be settled, are they? This is our life now. Marcus felt a deep empathy for this man who clearly loved his daughter but had become trapped by his own fear and guilt. Mr. Sterling, Emma asks me at least twice a week why we can't get a dog. I keep telling her maybe when we have a bigger place, when I'm not traveling so much for work, when things calm down. But you know what? Things don't calm down. Life just keeps happening. A slight smile crossed Sterling's face. A dog? A big one. She wants to name it Princess Dragonslayer. Marcus shook his head. I keep thinking about my own childhood, about the friends I had, the adventures we went on. My parents didn't have much money, but they let me run around the neighborhood with kids whose names they barely knew. Different times, I guess. Different times and different circumstances, Sterling said, but his tone had softened. Sophia can't run around the neighborhood. She can't even navigate stairs without help. But she can color and laugh and make friends who see her for who she is instead of what she can't do, Marcus said. Emma doesn't know anything about wheelchairs or limitations. She just sees another kid who might want to be her friend. Sterling was quiet again, watching Sophia. She had moved on to a new page in her coloring book and was humming softly to herself, a sound that somehow made the marble lobby feel warmer. What exactly are you proposing? Sterling asked. Saturday afternoon. Your place, my place, a park. Wherever you feel most comfortable. Emma and I will come over. The girls can spend some time together and we'll see how it goes. No pressure, no expectations beyond giving two kids a chance to be kids. And if Sophia gets hurt? If Emma says something thoughtless the way children do? Marcus considered this. Then we'll deal with it the same way we deal with any other childhood disappointment. We'll help them understand each other better. Or we'll help them learn that not every friendship works out, but we won't decide for them before they even have a chance to try. Sterling pulled out his phone and scrolled through what looked like a calendar packed with meetings and appointments. Saturday afternoon, I have a conference call with our Hong Kong office and then a review session with the legal team about the Morrison acquisition. On Saturday? Marcus asked, surprised. Business doesn't stop for weekends. Mr. Thompson. But Sterling's voice lacked conviction, and he was looking at Sophia again. Sometimes it should, Marcus said quietly. Sterling's finger hovered over his phone screen for a moment, then he began typing rapidly. I'm canceling the Saturday meetings, he said, more to himself than to Marcus. I can't remember the last time I took a Saturday afternoon off. Daddy? Sophia called. Are you ready to go home? Almost, sweetheart. Sterling looked at Marcus. Saturday at 2 o'clock. Our house. I'll send you the address. Marcus felt a surge of excitement mixed with nervousness. That sounds perfect. And Mr. Thompson? This has nothing to do with the business contract. Whatever happens Saturday, I'll make my decision about your agency based purely on your professional merits. I understand completely. Mr. Sterling, this is about our daughters, not business. They walked back to Sophia, who looked up hopefully at their approach. Sophia, Sterling said, his voice carrying a warmth that hadn't been there before. How would you feel about having a visitor on Saturday? Sophia's eyes went wide. Emma, really? She can come to our house? If you'd like that, yes. Sophia let out a squeal of delight that echoed through the lobby, causing several passers-by to smile. Daddy, this is the best day ever. Can I show her my butterfly garden? And my art room? Oh, and we have to make sure Mrs. Chen makes her special cookies. Marcus watched Sterling's face transform as he saw his daughter's pure joy. The careful, controlled businessman disappeared, replaced by a father who was remembering what it felt like to make his child happy. We'll show her everything you want to show her, Sterling promised. But remember, Sophia, Emma might not be interested in all the same things you are. That's okay, Sophia said confidently. Marcus said she draws dragons, and I've never tried drawing dragons. Maybe she can teach me. As they headed toward the parking garage, Sophia chattered excitedly about all the things she wanted to show Emma, all the activities they could do together. Marcus found himself smiling at her enthusiasm, while also noting how Sterling seemed to relax with each passing minute. Mr. Thompson, Sterling said as they reached his car, a sleek black sedan that probably cost more than Marcus made in a year. I should warn you, our house is, well, it's quite large. Emma might feel a bit overwhelmed. Emma's pretty adaptable, Marcus assured him, though I should probably warn you that she has a lot of questions about everything. She might ask about Sophia's wheelchair, about why she can't walk. I hope that's okay. Sterling tensed slightly, but Sophia spoke up from where Sterling was helping her transfer to the car seat. That's okay. I like answering questions better than having people pretend they don't notice. The wisdom in her words struck both men silent for a moment. Sophia, you are absolutely right, Marcus said. Emma will probably have lots of questions, and I bet you'll have questions for her too. I do. I want to know about the dragons she draws, and what her favorite color is, and if she's ever been to the ocean, and what her favorite book is, and breathe. Sweetheart, Sterling said, but he was smiling now, really smiling, in a way that made him look years younger. As Sterling folded Sophia's wheelchair and placed it in the trunk, Marcus felt a strange sense of anticipation. He'd come here today hoping to save his business, and instead he might have stumbled into something much more important, a chance to help two lonely little girls find friendship, and maybe help two fathers remember what really mattered. See you Saturday? Sophia, Marcus called as Sterling closed the trunk. See you Saturday, Marcus. Tell Emma I can't wait to meet her. As the car pulled away, Marcus stood in the parking garage for a moment, processing what had just happened. Then he pulled out his phone to call Emma. Hi, Daddy. Emma's voice was bright and cheerful. How did your big meeting go? It went very interestingly, sweetheart. How would you like to make a new friend this Saturday? Saturday morning arrived with Emma bouncing on Marcus's bed at 6:30, despite his repeated attempts the night before to explain that 2 o'clock was still many hours away. Daddy, what if she doesn't like me? Emma asked for the 4th time as Marcus made pancakes. What if she thinks my dragon drawings are silly? Emma, sweetheart, you've never worried about whether someone would like your drawings before. What's different now? Emma twisted a strand of her dark hair around her finger, a habit she'd developed when she was thinking hard about something. Sophia lives in a really big house with a daddy who wears fancy suits. What if she's used to fancy friends? Marcus knelt down to Emma's eye level, recognizing his daughter's rare moment of insecurity. Emma, do you remember what I always tell you about people? That everyone has the same feelings inside, even if their outside looks different? Exactly. And do you remember what makes someone a good friend? Emma thought for a moment. Someone who listens to your stories and shares their own stories with you? That's right. And someone who likes you for who you are, not for what you have. Marcus tucked a strand of hair behind Emma's ear. Besides, Sophia was so excited to meet you. She specifically asked if you could teach her to draw dragons. Emma's face brightened. Really? She wants me to teach her something? Really? In fact, she seemed just as nervous about whether you'd like her. That's silly, Emma said matter-of-factly. Of course I'll like her. She draws butterflies, and butterflies are almost as cool as dragons. At exactly 2 o'clock, Marcus and Emma stood in front of the Sterling mansion, both of them staring up at the imposing facade. The house was even larger than Marcus had imagined, a modern architectural marvel with floor-to-ceiling windows and perfectly manicured gardens. "Daddy," Emma whispered, "this looks like a castle." "A little bit," Marcus agreed, feeling his own nervousness spike. He rang the doorbell, which played a melodic chime that probably cost more than his monthly grocery budget. The door opened to reveal a middle-aged Asian woman with a kind smile. "You must be Emma and Marcus." "I'm Mrs. Chen, Sophia's nurse. She's been asking about you every 5 minutes since breakfast." Mrs. Chen led them through a foyer that was larger than Marcus's entire living room, past a formal dining room and a living space that looked like it belonged in an architectural magazine. But as they moved deeper into the house, the formal atmosphere began to give way to something warmer and more lived in. "Sophia is in her art room," Mrs. Chen explained. "Mr. Sterling had it specially designed for her after the accident. She spends most of her free time there." They could hear Sophia before they saw her. She was humming the same tune Marcus had heard in the office, mixed with excited chatter. "Emma's here. Emma's here," Sophia called out as they approached a bright, sunny room filled with art supplies, easels, and natural light streaming through skylights. Emma stopped in the doorway, taking in the space with wide eyes. "Whoa," she breathed. "This is like an art museum." Sophia beamed from her position at a specially designed desk that accommodated her wheelchair perfectly. "Do you like it? Daddy had it made just for me. And look!" She gestured to the walls, which were covered with her artwork. Not just the butterflies Marcus had seen, but landscapes, portraits, and abstract pieces that showed real talent. "These are amazing." Emma moved closer to examine the artwork, her initial shyness completely forgotten. "I've never seen butterfly drawings that look so real. How do you make the wings look like they're actually moving?" Sophia's face glowed with pride. "I use different pressures with the crayons, and sometimes I blend colors together. Want me to show you?" "Yes, please." Emma pulled out a folder from her backpack. "And I brought some of my dragon drawings to show you if you want to see them." As the two girls spread their artwork across Sophia's desk, Marcus heard footsteps behind him. Sterling appeared in the doorway, looking more casual than Marcus had ever seen him, khaki pants and a polo shirt instead of his usual business attire. "Mr. Thompson," Sterling said quietly, extending his hand. "Thank you for coming. Thank you for having us. And please call me Marcus." They watched as Emma and Sophia became absorbed in each other's artwork. Emma was asking detailed questions about Sophia's techniques, while Sophia marveled at Emma's imaginative dragon princesses. "This one is Princess Fiery Heart," Emma explained, pointing to a drawing of a dragon with a crown. "She rescues villages from mean kings who don't let people read books. That's terrible." Sophia gasped dramatically. "Everyone should be allowed to read books." "Does she breathe fire on the mean kings?" "Only if they don't apologize and promise to build libraries," Emma said seriously. Sterling chuckled softly. "I haven't heard Sophia laugh this much in months," he admitted to Marcus. "Emma's been talking about this visit all week. She was worried Sophia wouldn't like her dragon drawings, and I was worried Sophia would be disappointed when Emma saw all of this." Sterling gestured around the elaborate art room. "I sometimes forget that children see things differently than adults do." Mrs. Chen appeared with a tray of cookies and milk. "Girls, would you like a snack?" "Mrs. Chen makes the best cookies in the world," Sophia told Emma confidentially. "She taught me the recipe, but mine never turn out as good as hers." "Maybe we could make cookies together sometime," Emma suggested. "I'm not very good at baking, but it's fun to try." "Really? You'd want to bake with me?" "Sure, as long as we can make dragon-shaped cookies," Sophia giggled. "We could make butterfly cookies and dragon cookies." As the girls enjoyed their snack, Sterling led Marcus to a sitting area adjacent to the art room where they could talk while keeping the girls in sight. "I owe you an apology," Sterling said. "Yesterday I made assumptions about your motivations, about what kind of person you were. I was wrong. You were protecting your daughter. I understand that completely. Sterling was quiet for a moment, watching Sophia show Emma how to blend colors for butterfly wings. After Caroline left, I hired the best doctors, the best therapists, the best tutors. I made sure Sophia had everything she could possibly need. Except friends. I couldn't hire those. You were doing what you thought was best, was I? Or was I doing what made me feel like I was in control? Sterling's voice carried a weight of self-examination. Look at her, Marcus. When was the last time you saw your daughter that engaged with someone her own age? Marcus watched Emma and Sophia working side by side, their heads bent together over a drawing pad. Actually, this might be the first time. Emma's made some acquaintances at school, but nothing like this. Sophia goes to a special school across town. The other children there, some of them have cognitive disabilities that make friendship difficult. The children in our neighborhood, Sterling trailed off, don't know how to relate to her? Their parents don't know how to relate to her, Sterling corrected. The children would probably be fine if the adults weren't so uncomfortable. They were interrupted by Emma's voice calling across the room. Mr. Sterling, could you come look at something? Sterling moved to where the girls were working. Emma had created a drawing that combined her dragon style with Sophia's butterfly techniques, a dragon with wings that looked remarkably like the detailed butterflies Sophia was known for. I used Sophia's blending technique for the wings, Emma explained proudly, and Sophia drew a butterfly that breathes sparkles instead of a dragon that breathes fire. Sterling studied the drawings with the same attention he might give to $1 million contract. These are remarkable. You two make a good team. We do, Sophia agreed enthusiastically. Emma, do you want to see my butterfly garden? You have a real butterfly garden? Daddy had it built for me last year. It's enclosed so I can wheel around in it, and there are different flowers that attract different kinds of butterflies. Sterling caught Marcus's eye and nodded toward the garden doors. As they followed the girls outside, Marcus was struck by the thoughtfulness of the space. Winding paths wide enough for Sophia's wheelchair, raised flower beds at the perfect height for her to touch and smell the blooms, and a covered seating area where she could sit comfortably. This is incredible, Marcus said. You created paradise for her. I created a beautiful cage, Sterling replied quietly. She can experience nature, but only the controlled version I've provided for her. Emma was already exploring, asking Sophia about different flowers and squealing with delight when actual butterflies began landing near them. Look, Sophia. That orange one looks just like the one you colored yesterday. That's a monarch butterfly, Sophia explained. They migrate thousands of miles. Can you imagine flying that far just to find the right place to live? Emma considered this seriously. I think it would be scary but also exciting, like an adventure. I dream about flying sometimes, Sophia said wistfully, about going on adventures like the butterflies do. Something in her tone made both fathers pay closer attention. What kind of adventures? Emma asked. Oh, going to regular school with kids my age, going to the movies without having to call ahead to make sure they can accommodate my wheelchair, going to the park and not having people stare. Sophia's voice was matter-of-fact, but the longing underneath was unmistakable. Emma was quiet for a moment, then said, My daddy and I go to the movies sometimes. Maybe you could come with us? I bet they have wheelchair spots, and if people stare, we could stare back at them until they feel silly. Sophia looked toward her father hopefully. Could I, Daddy? Could I go to the movies with Emma and Marcus? Sterling looked like a man standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing he had to jump but terrified of the fall. Marcus found himself holding his breath, realizing that this moment would define not just the girls' friendship, but possibly the entire trajectory of Sophia's childhood. Sterling looked at his daughter's hopeful face, then at Emma's expectant expression, and finally at Marcus, who was trying very hard to appear neutral while clearly hoping Sterling would say yes. Sterling began, then stopped. Marcus could almost see the internal battle playing out. The protective father warring with the man who was beginning to understand what his daughter truly needed. The movie theater downtown has excellent accessibility, Sterling said slowly. I had their facilities reviewed when we first moved here. Does that mean yes? Sophia asked, barely containing her excitement. Sterling took a deep breath. That means yes, sweetheart. But we'll need to plan it carefully. Daddy, it's just a movie, Sophia said gently, and Marcus realized that this 8-year-old had probably been having this conversation with her father in various forms for years. I know. Old habits. Sterling looked slightly embarrassed. When were you thinking, Emma? Could we go next Saturday? There's a new animated movie about a girl who can talk to animals. Sophia would probably like it because there might be butterflies in it. And dragons, Sophia added hopefully, making Emma laugh. Maybe dragons too. As the afternoon progressed, Marcus watched something beautiful unfold. The girls moved seamlessly between activities: art, exploring the garden, playing a board game that Sophia had adapted for her mobility needs, and endless conversation about everything from favorite colors to their dreams for the future. More importantly, Marcus watched Sterling slowly relax, letting go of his hovering concern as he saw how naturally Emma interacted with Sophia. When Mrs. Chen announced that dinner was ready and invited Marcus and Emma to stay, Marcus started to decline, not wanting to impose. But Emma and Sophia's immediate chorus of, "Please stay," was impossible to resist. Dinner was a revelation. At the elegant dining table, Sophia came alive in a way Marcus suspected she rarely did when it was just her and her father. She told stories about her butterfly observations, asked Emma detailed questions about school life, and even coaxed stories out of Marcus about his business adventures. Sterling, meanwhile, seemed to be seeing his daughter through new eyes. "Sophia, I had no idea you'd been keeping such detailed notes about the butterfly migration patterns," Sterling said as his daughter described her observations. "I write down everything I see in my nature journal," Sophia explained. "Mrs. Chen helped me research what all the different butterflies were called. Did you know that some of them travel in groups, kind of like families?" "I didn't know that," Sterling admitted. "Could you show me your journal sometime?" "Really? You want to see it?" The hope in Sophia's voice was heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time. "I would love to see it." After dinner, as the girls worked on a collaborative art project that involved dragons and butterflies living in the same magical kingdom, Sterling and Marcus found themselves having a conversation that went far beyond their daughter's playdate. "I called Caroline yesterday," Sterling said quietly, Sophia's mother. "I told her about today, about the new friend Sophia was making. How did she react?" "She said she was happy for Sophia, but I could hear the guilt in her voice. She asked if I thought she should visit more often." Sterling paused. "For 3 years I've been angry at Caroline for abandoning us. But watching you with Emma today, seeing how natural it is for you to just be present, I realized that Caroline saw something I couldn't see myself." Marcus waited, sensing that Sterling needed to work through these thoughts. "She saw that I was so consumed with managing Sophia's condition that I'd forgotten how to just be her father. Every conversation was about therapy appointments, medical needs, safety concerns. When was the last time I asked my daughter about her dreams?" "You're asking now," Marcus pointed out. "Because watching you interact with your daughter and watching Emma interact with Sophia showed me what I've been missing. Emma doesn't see Sophia as a collection of medical conditions and limitations. She sees a friend who draws amazing butterflies and has interesting ideas about princess dragons." They were interrupted by giggles from across the room. The girls had created an elaborate fantasy world where dragon princesses and butterfly queens worked together to protect their kingdom from boring grown-ups who forgot how to have fun. "Daddy, Marcus," Sophia called. "We need you to voice the boring grown-up characters in our story." "Oh no," Marcus said in mock horror. "We've been cast as the villains." "It's okay," Emma assured them. "The dragon princess and butterfly queen always find a way to remind the grown-ups how to smile." As the evening wound down and it came time to leave, Sophia's face fell. "Do you really have to go?" "Yes, sweetheart," Marcus said gently. "But we'll see you next Saturday for the movie, remember? And maybe Emma can come over again soon." Sophia looked hopefully between Marcus and her father. "I think that can be arranged," Sterling said, and Marcus heard a new confidence in his voice. The goodbyes took nearly 20 minutes, with the girls making plans for their next meeting, exchanging drawings, and promising to work on their collaborative fantasy kingdom during the week. As Marcus and Emma walked to their car, Emma was chattering excitedly about her new friend. "Daddy, Sophia's so smart. And funny, and she knows everything about butterflies. Can we really take her to the movies next week?" "We absolutely can," Marcus promised. "Good, I think she needs adventures. She told me she sometimes feels like she's stuck in a beautiful cage, kind of like the butterflies in her garden before they're ready to fly free." Marcus was struck by his daughter's intuitive understanding of Sophia's situation. "What do you think we can do to help her feel more free?" Emma thought seriously about this. I think we just keep being her friends. And maybe help her daddy remember that adventures are more fun when you share them with people you love. Monday morning brought a phone call that Marcus had been both anticipating and dreading. Mr. Thompson, this is Richard Sterling. I've made my decision about the marketing contract. Marcus's stomach clenched. Yes, sir? I'd like to offer you the contract, but not for the reasons you might think. Your presentation was good, but not extraordinary. What was extraordinary was watching you interact with my daughter, seeing the kind of man and father you are. Those are the qualities I want associated with my company. Marcus felt a surge of relief and gratitude. Mr. Sterling, I promise you won't regret this decision. There's one condition, though. Marcus's heart skipped. What's that? Saturday movie trips need to become a regular thing. Sophia hasn't stopped talking about it, and I think it's exactly the kind of adventure she needs. Marcus smiled, thinking of two little girls planning a fantasy kingdom, where princesses and queens work together to remind grown-ups how to have fun. I think that's the best business condition I've ever been offered. 6 months later, Marcus's small marketing firm had grown significantly with the Sterling Industries contract. But more importantly, Emma and Sophia's friendship had transformed both families. Sterling had learned to step back from his protective hovering, allowing Sophia to attend regular school, participate in adaptive sports, and yes, go on countless adventures with her best friend. And Marcus had learned that sometimes the most important business you can do has nothing to do with contracts or profits. Sometimes it's about recognizing that every child deserves the chance to fly free, even if they need a different kind of wings to do it. The two girls still collaborated on their fantasy kingdom stories, but now they included adventures where dragon princesses and butterfly queens explored the real world together, proving that the very best friendships are the ones that help you discover not just who you are, but who you can become.